Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Rubel. So today we will learn Python condition, which include if, elif, and else. But today we will learn if and elif, like how we can use, why we need to use in our program. So before we go deep in the if elif statement or condition, let's say why we need to use. So far we learn how we can run our program and validate the result using the assert, right? So right now, like we are validating that if we have a 0 customer, that should be the empty list, right? So let me run our program and it is validated, right? Because it's returned the empty list. So let me print that as well. So you see, it's a and this is the empty list is returned, and let me verify with the Postman. So if I run, it's empty. So now what happens if we have existing customers, right? It will not be empty anymore. So now let me create on customer. So I just created customer ID number is 75, and if I say get request, so now we have a 75. So that means the list is not empty anymore. We have some data inside the list. So now if I run again, you see we get the assertion error, which is expected because our list is not empty anymore. So that means the code we are right here is not handling this error, right? So that's the play for the if elif condition that we are going to use. So now let's dive into the if elif or else statement. So if you just type in the Google Python if statement, you will have a lots of documentation available. But let's first go to the W3 schools. Let's see what this says. It's a Python if else, and they provide the Python condition and if statement, and they give you like bunch of useful documentation. But we are not going to follow everything, or like we are going to use whatever we need, and we are not going to do like this kind of example, right? So we are going to do the we are going to solve the problem that we have. And what is our problem? Our problem, we are getting the error, like our code is not handling the existing customer. So that is the problem, and we are going to solve it. So now, this is the list of logical condition that we can use if we are going to use the if statement. So this is how we use the equal. Like if you see double equal here, and so far we already used the double equal. Like we compare to expected and actual results with the double equal, and then we say not equal. Like this is the syntax for writing the not equal, like this is the symbol. So that means whatever result we are getting here is not equal to on the right side. And then you have a greater than, less than, greater than or equal, less than. So if you want to learn more, you can dive into it and follow the documentation. But today we are going to learn these two logical condition. Okay, so let's get started. So let's like first of all, I did modify the test case name. So the customer ID. The reason I did like the first, let's say okay, right now if we have a 0 customer, so it should fine. What about if the customer is not 0? Like right now we have an existing customer. So if we have an existing customer, what we are going to do, we are going to print the ID, the customer, the first ID. So right now is ID is 75. Okay, so that is the goal. So the first we say, okay, if the customer is not exist, we can say print customer not exist. Then we say Elif, if the customer is exist, if the customer is exist, then print the customer ID. Okay, so let's get. So let's use this code. So this is the request. So this is the response, right? R.json that we are getting. So in if statement, I say if, and we have to write if. You see, it's become a orange color. So then after if, it's become a we have to write the condition. Then after that we have to provide this semicolon. So I have to say if the response dot test JSON, I can just copy exactly this one. I say if this is the condition, if this is equal to this, and you can say here, like, like after at the end, if you enter, you see the cursor become like here, because as we learned that Python is very sensitive with the indentation, so it will be indent here. So we have already that. So now what this code will do? The first, it will check if this JSON is equal to this list. If it is yes, it is, then it will execute this this print. And if it is not, then it will go for the next one. So now let's print the next one, which is Elif. Then we are going to do the same thing here. So the Elif, if we have multiple conditions that we have right now, that then we can use Elif. So Elif, so that means this will validate the zero customer, but this one we are going to say, okay, if the response is not equal list, so that means we will have some value in the list. Then we can say, okay, assert, we can use the assert here as well for validation purpose. Assert is not, we can enhance this code, but right now just understand the basic. So the print customer, so what do we say? Okay, if it is list is not empty, then print the customer ID. So I say the customer ID. So customer ID is, and we are going to print r.json. So what will happen right now? Okay, let's print out. Right now is print everything. You see? Let me clear the log. And print. It didn't print the customer ID. It print all the data. So that means it didn't execute this code. It execute this code. The line number 15, right? Is condition. This condition is not satisfied, so that's why it's execute this condition. So now we have to print the customer ID, and ID is 75. You see the customer ID is 75. So now 75, in order to print this 75, we have to understand like what is the location this 75. The first, it has a list. But what it return? It will return the list. So r.json, we have to provide, say, okay, this is the list. And inside this is the list. Then we have a dictionary. Then inside the dictionary, we have the ID location. So now in order to face this ID, we have to say another dictionary here, and then we have to say ID. So this is how we traverse the JSON response. So like this is called JSON response. So the first we have a ID, I mean the list. Then inside the list we have a dictionary, and inside the dictionary we have a ID. So we have to provide another list, and inside the list we have to provide the dictionary key value. So this is the key, this is the value. So now you see this is the red. The reason is whenever we return this JSON response is go by index. Like right now, if I in Postman, if I close this one, you see this end, the list is start and end. So that means this is on list here, and the list is start from 0. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means we have a 0 index here. So we have to enter 0. So error will be gone. So now let's print again. Let me clear. You see, customer ID is 75. So now test out this the logic, the empty list, right? So what I'm going to do, I am going to delete the 75. So delete 75. Like whenever we write the code, we have to test it out, right? So now let's get all customer. So right now it's empty. So now go back and clear the screen and run again. You see the customer does not exist. Customer does not exist in the list and is print this list. It didn't go there. So now if I create customer again, the expectation is we should see the ID number 76. So now it will ignore this logic because it will not be empty list anymore. So it will print ID is 76. So that's how we can use the if statement, if Elif. Okay,